Hello there everyone. Whilst thinking of ideas for new videos in 2025, I came up with the idea of sitting down and having a chat once every month, maybe once every couple of months, just giving you a little update as to what we've been up to. I thought maybe we could have a look at some news articles relating to the paranormal, or maybe even review some footage captured by other groups. Now this is the first video like this, and I've not even come up with a title for the series yet. Been throwing around some ideas, paranormal in a nutshell, which yeah, it's not great. So if anyone's got any ideas as to what I can name this series, please leave it below in the comments. Now 2025 has already been very busy for us. Almost every week we've either been out filming somewhere or investigating somewhere or had something else going on. And it all started right back on the 3rd of January when we investigated a small village hall in Norfolk. Now this hall's located in a small village called Litcham. I think it's a few miles away from King's Lynn. Now this wasn't a place that I was aware of until a few months ago when I saw a video from the Suffolk Spirits Hunters investigating there. They're a great group. I'll leave a link to their channel in the description if you want to go and check them out. But it just seemed quite an unusual place, a village hall, and we obviously investigated the Layham Village Hall last year, no, 2 years ago we investigated the Layham Village Hall. Again, very unassuming place, not the kind of place you'd expect to have some kind of haunting or any paranormal activity, but we did have a number of strange things happen there, and there was certain similarities between there and the Litcham Village Hall. It just sort of intrigued me and piqued my interest. I thought we'll give it a go and investigate it for ourselves. But yeah, very mundane place for all intents and purposes, but it always interests me, you know, that hauntings do seem to take place anywhere, and anywhere there is a report of a haunting, we'll go out of our way to investigate it, because we've been to places that never in a million years you think would be haunted. You know, they don't have the spooky kind of appearance to it, they've not got the history behind it, but strange events do happen there. So we thought we'd, like I say, kick the year off and investigate this rather mundane village hall, which turned out to be a really good night. 2 weeks after that, we then travelled all the way over to Wales and investigated, and here's where my Welsh pronunciation lets me down, the Llanfillin Workhouse, or the Llanfillin Workhouse. I'm not going to pretend I know how to pronounce it, but yeah, that was an incredible place. I've never been anywhere like it. The building itself was absolutely incredible. It's for one, enormous, so we had free range of pretty much the entire place, but it was a fantastic place to be, and especially that we done our first investigation out of England as well, you know, travelling all the way over to Wales. Fantastic experience, and it's a lovely area out there as well. And the best thing was we actually got to stay overnight in the workhouse itself, and the actual bunkhouse where we stayed has also had some paranormal experiences there by previous people. The guy that was showing us around said that there was probably going back a few years now, but there was a group of bikers who came. I think they'd done like a tour of the country, and they stayed at the workhouse, because you can just stay there sort of as a, I think it's almost like a hostel, this particular bunkhouse area, and they stayed there and spent the night there whilst travelling. And they woke up in the morning and sort of came down, had a chat with the people that run it, and they said, oh yeah, it was had a good night's sleep, but there was children running around all night making a racket. No children there, and obviously who used to be in workhouses for the vast majority, a lot of children, and the sound of children playing and running around, or just talking, and you know, that's something that has been experienced in that building. And the guy that showed us around said that's the most compelling story he's heard there, because these bikers that came were unaware of any kind of a haunting there, and he said that they just didn't seem the kind of people that would be remotely interested in ghosts or anything like that. But yeah, what an experience, and I can't wait to share that episode with you. It will either be coming out later this year, but the chances are it'll probably be into early 2026 when we'll get round to releasing that. Earlier in the month I also headed out with Jason Duke of Ghost Hunter Jace, and we went to a church that he's been doing some fairly extensive investigations at lately. I think it's Bradwell Combus Church in Suffolk, not far from Bury St Edmunds. He's investigated there, I think, over the last, I want to say 18 months he's been going there. And he's had some really bizarre things. He's had strange noises coming from within the church. He's had poltergeist activity. I think there was a Bible that was on a shelf that got thrown. He's recorded it on camera as well, and this Bible sort of was on a bookshelf just coming off and sort of flying past his legs. Really interesting place. Unfortunately, whilst we were there, nothing particularly strong happened. We had a few little bits and pieces that we thought maybe something unusual, but yeah, it's somewhere that we're definitely going to be going back to, and yeah, looking forward to see what else Jason gets there during the investigations as well. Haven't actually got around to filming any this year, but we will be making more Ghost Ops episodes. Myself and James have got a load in the pipeline. We've already filmed 2 at the back end of last year that will be up in the next month or so. But yeah, Ghost Ops will be coming back. I know a lot of our viewers like it, and they like kind of the very hands-on approach to it and more of the urban exploring aspect. So there'll be loads more of them coming. We've got some fantastic locations planned as well. Now, last night we were supposed to be going out and filming an episode of Ghost Ops. However, that morning Sophie dropped me a message and said, oh, there's a presenter from BBC Radio 5 Live that wanted us to go on and have a chat about a particular news article. Adele, the singer, is trying to sell her mansion, and I think she lived in the mansion, and the owner of it is trying to sell it, but they can't because Adele said about 15 years ago that it's haunted. And he wanted us to come on and chat and just have a little discussion and share our views on it. Now, we've done loads of interviews over the years, and I really enjoyed last night having a chat on the radio with this guy. He was asking some quite probing questions, actually. Quite often we'll get asked the same sort of things, you know, how did you get into doing this? What's your best experience? But he was sort of asking things like, how come I've not seen any concrete proof of a ghost when everyone's got a high-powered phone in their pocket? And I said to him, like, oh, I completely agree with that. I said, there is some really good videos and evidence of ghosts, certainly recorded on phones and cameras and things like that. But the issue is, it's also so easy to fake it, so you've just got to take someone's word for it. But yeah, had some really interesting discussions with him. Always nice getting invited on radio shows. So thanks very much BBC Radio 5 Live for having us on. Now that leads me on perfectly to the next segment of this video, which is actually looking at news articles relating to the paranormal. And I thought, what better place to start than the very one that we were discussing last night on the radio with Adele's haunted mansion. So here we are, here's the news article, BBC News, Adele thwarted sale of haunted £6 million house owner. So let's have a little read. Adele has been accused of sabotaging the sale of a £6 million mansion she used to live in by its owners, who claim she once said it was haunted. The award-winning singer rented the Grade 2 listed Lock House in Partridge Green, West Sussex in 2012. The owner has submitted planning permission to transform the property into a single dwelling to 3 residential units and convert an existing garage flat into separate cottaging. In the submission, the owner said comments made by Adele about the 10-bedroom house being haunted during an interview had hindered the selling process. The first tenant, Adele, stayed for 6 months and blighted the property by saying it's haunted. So yeah, in terms of the interview itself that she did, she barely touched upon it. I think she just said something along the lines of it gives her the creeps. So I don't know how she can be blamed for a mansion not selling. I think it may be something to do with the £6 million price tag that's putting people off. But yeah, it goes on to say that it was a former coven, I believe, for nuns. So yeah, it's I don't think there's any pictures on this article, unfortunately. They've put a picture of Adele, but not the house they're talking about. But yeah, that's interesting one. I don't think there's anything to it. I mean, Adele barely touched upon saying it's haunted. I think they're just using this. I don't even think the owners really believe that the house isn't selling because of haunting personally. I think the house isn't selling and they're just trying to get in the headlines and maybe someone will buy it up. But yeah, I'd buy it, but I don't have £6 million at my disposal, unfortunately. So we'll have to put that one on ice for the time being. Now this article's about the Jarrow chair, which granted 3 wishes, all a pregnancy. Be careful what you sit on. So the chair with a reputation in St Paul's Church is included in the Paranormal Database. Fantastic website, check it out, there's loads of great stuff on there. Which is an online directory of spiritual sightings and experiences across the country. A report on the database says newlywed brides who sit in this famous chair soon fall pregnant, according to local legend. Another version of the legend says that anyone who sits on the chair is granted 3 wishes. Let us know if you have experienced either of the chair's famous powers. That is it. It's a very short article, actually. Have they put a picture of the chair? Interestingly, no. This has suffered from the same blight that the Adele article. They've not actually put a picture of what it is they're talking about. But yeah, interesting little story. Yeah, there's quite a few different legends around like that. You know, chairs or rocks. I know there's one near me which is actually a well, it's barely a well, to be honest. It's a tiny little spring coming out of the ground. I believe that the story goes, if a young girl throws a coin in or something, that she'll be able to see the man of her, the man she'll marry will appear, something along those lines. So yeah, I think these sort of stories, I'm guessing it's a very old chair based on the facts it's in a church, but yeah, a lot of these you know, I think are more old wives' tales than anything paranormal, but still very interesting, and obviously sort of goes down the whole route of folklore, which is something we're all about. So this one here is from Bristol Live. This one's actually from the 19th of December 24, so obviously not from this month, but I thought I'd include it anyway as it's quite relevant. It looks like there is another paranormal TV show coming out, which is just what everybody wanted. Hey. Jonathan Ross goes missing during chilling paranormal investigation in the woods. Jonathan Ross is set to open up a terrifying childhood incident in a new show, and it seems that things will take a sinister turn as the TV star is seen going missing. Jonathan Ross fans are in for a treat as they get to see the renowned talk show host in a completely new light, or lights off, I'd imagine. Throughout his distinguished television career, Jonathan has had the chance to chat with some of the biggest names in entertainment. However, in the new TV series Jonathan Ross, Haunted Homecoming, the beloved TV personality revisits his childhood haunts for a spine-chilling trip down memory lane, communicating with entities even more elusive than the Hollywood stars he usually rubs shoulders with, the supernatural. Known for his interest in horror and the macabre, Jonathan's return to his old East End haunts to uncover its dark real-life secrets and search for signs of the paranormal turns into his own personal horror film. Where's the bit about him going missing? Okay, so here there's a bit about psychic medium Ian Lawman accompanying him. Yeah, I personally, I mean, I'm not here. This is a light-hearted video, but seeing as he's mentioning it, Ian Lawman, he's done quite a few different shows. I'm not a big fan of his. He's a con man essentially, but he seems to weasel his way into every paranormal TV show. So yeah, it looks like they go to Epping Forest. That's on our list to potentially have a look into this year. There's quite a, I mean, it's an enormous place, Epping Forest, but there's quite a few places there that we'd like to have a look at. Okay, so in a tense moment of the programme, the team becomes visibly uneasy in the forest when they fail to reach Jonathan. Dr. Kate expresses her worry. I don't want to make things worse, but I think we've lost Jonathan. I've lost Jonathan. He's just walked into the woods and hasn't come back. Which automatically screams to me that it must be a ghost. If you send Jonathan Ross in the woods and he hasn't come back, either that or he's found someone to chat to. Okay, reflecting on the time he went astray, Jonathan shared his thoughts. They, the crew, got lost. To be honest with you, I was quite sad when they found us again. I was quite happy trying to feel the vibe. I enjoyed being there. He continued reminiscing about his departure from the group. I remember leaving and I felt very calm. When you're looking for a connection, you do have to investigate some really, truly tragic stories. Normally events where people's lives have ended where they shouldn't have ended. So yeah, bit of a nothing article really. Obviously I just wanted to share that because it's a new paranormal show coming out. But yeah, a bit of a nothing article. Jonathan Ross walks into the woods and the radio drops out and the crew can't contact him. Instead of something horrible happening to Jonathan Ross, it just turns out he was having a nice walk through the woods. So quite interested. I'm not interested actually. I'm intrigued to see sort of what actually happens with this series. Yeah, it is what it is, isn't it, I suppose, if you like that kind of thing. Yeah, I mean, it's a bit hypocritical coming from me, considering we do an online series. But yeah, I mean, anything that's been on the TV relating to paranormal, other than maybe some of the very early ghost hunting shows, and they only into the sort of the first couple of series, I think they were genuine. Everything that's been on the telly since then has been hammed up for the cameras, footage faked, just, yeah, not my cup of tea. But if you like that kind of thing, you can expect to see more of that in the coming months. Okay, yeah, so nice having a look over those articles. Nothing particularly interesting, but it's always good to have a little browse. We'll be doing exactly the same again in the next video like this. I don't know if it'll be at the end of February, it might be at the end of March, but I'll get a load of new articles together that we can go over and have a look at. So another section of this video I wanted to include was anytime I go out somewhere, as many people we go out for day trips places, you know, just go and have a little look around somewhere. But quite often I'll stumble across a place that's quite interesting. Not always related to ghosts, sometimes it's just an interesting place. But if I thought there was anywhere quite interesting or worth showing you, this would be a perfect platform to show it to you on. So here's a little trip from Bury St Edmunds a number of weeks ago. So today we've come out for a little trip to Bury St Edmunds in Suffolk, and whilst I was here I thought I'd give a little rundown of some of the ghosts that have been sighted here over the years. Currently in the Abbey Gardens. This is like the Rose Garden area. You can see the vapour coming out of the sugar beet factory over there, which is a high point of the town. This was at one point one of the largest abbeys, certainly in East Anglia, I think even the country as well. The power that this place had was enormous, and we've investigated plenty of places around, certainly the East Anglia region, that had ties to here, had funds stored away here, so it's a very, very prominent and important place. But it's freezing cold at the moment. It's the 11th of January. I think we've had -4 overnight, and I don't think it's got above freezing all day. You can tell that from the frost that's still on the ground. So at the moment we're in sort of the main part of the Abbey Gardens. This is where the majority of the ruins are. We did investigate here back in 2014, and it was very, very early, back in sort of the Shadow Paranormal years. We didn't quite know what we were doing, and it was during the daytime. We just done a small investigation here. I don't think we picked anything up. We thought we had a couple of EVPs on camera, but it's such a busy place, any little noises and voices. So I don't think we can attribute anything to that actual investigation, but it's always been a place that's fascinated me, certainly because there's been a number of ghost sightings over here in this place throughout the years. Most notably, 2 sightings in the 1960s, one in 1961 where 2 gentlemen were walking through here and they saw what they believed to be the ghost of a monk. And the year later, 1962, out the front of the Abbey gates, there was another sighting of what appeared to be a monk-like figure. But what I wanted to highlight in today's video is people see monks all over the place. They seem to be one of the most well-sighted ghostly figures seen throughout the country, and you could attribute that simply because of the amount of monasteries, churches, and just long history of sort of Christianity and religion within the country, and that there's just so many sites that have ties to monks. I certainly think it's because a monk is to look at in a habit with a hood up, very, very basic shape of a figure. They've got no distinguishable features, and I wonder a lot of monk sightings are just people seeing a hooded type figure with no distinguishable features, and they just think it's a monk. Very much the same with, for example, the Grey Lady, and Bury St Edmunds also has its very own Grey Lady. It's been seen all over the town, within buildings. Again, I think the Abbey ruins as well is another place where this supposed Grey Lady's been seen. And again, a Grey Lady is a spectre that's been seen throughout Britain over the centuries. Loads of ruins have a Grey Lady, loads of hotels have the infamous Grey Lady that haunts the corridors. And I wonder if, again, it's because it's just a very basic shape, sort of a feminine figure in a long flowing dress. And a grey, again, is a very sort of bland, drab colour that I suppose if you saw something out of the corner of your eye, it could be, you know, a sort of a grey or a white shape. Just something I find quite interesting. And whether, as I say, some of these sightings aren't necessarily attributed to monks and Grey Ladies, but wonder if they're just very sort of basic humanoid figures that then people attribute to these ghost stories, and then they grow up over the years. But as I said earlier, it's very, very cold at the moment. It certainly adds a nice layer to the aesthetic of the Abbey here, especially with the stonework with a nice layer of frost over it. The sun's just starting to set in the sky as well. But yeah, it's a very busy place, and I'm assuming it always has been, even going back to when or in the 60s when there was a few sightings around here. It makes you wonder how people can see ghosts in such sort of highly densely populated places. But certainly a lot of people seem to have seen things around here. I'm not too sure about 21st century sightings. I've got a feeling there may have been one or two that have popped up, but again, it's a busy place, so how you could sort of tell from a distance that it's a ghost and not a person is beyond me. So here are a number of coffins that were unearthed, I think in 1902. Each of them had skeletons in, and some people have speculated that this may have been sort of the start of the haunting here. Certainly places we've been before, or certainly it's the consensus with things like ghost stories is that unearthing graves and disturbing the dead results in paranormal activity. But yeah, sort of give you a little show around the Abbey ruins here on this very cold and frosty January. Okay, so thank you very much everyone for joining me on this video. As I say, we will be doing more of these. I've not worked out the whole kind of setup of it all yet. This is just the first test run really, but I hope you've enjoyed it. I'd also like to include as well a segment on sort of questions and answers. If you've got any questions for myself or any members of the Shadow Paranormal team that you want to ask us, go ahead in the comments section, and what we'll do is when we make the next video like this, I'll go through and see if we can answer some of your questions. If you'd also like us to have a look at any paranormal videos, any photos you'd like our opinion on, feel free to send those to us as well. Even if it's sort of your own footage, you've recorded something, you're not sure what it is and you'd like us to have a little look, then yeah, go ahead and send it to us and we'll see what we can do. But thanks very much for joining me on this video. Yeah, really enjoyed it, and I hope this is the first of many. Take care.